We're going to have to edit here. I'm going
Okay.
to go downstairs and beat my dog. So
All
we'll
right.
be right back.
That's staying in.
Leave this in.
No.
Do you know what happens to vampires who don't get to feed? I always wondered that, actually.
Giles plates.
Living skeletons, mate. Like famine pictures from those dusty countries. Only not half as funny.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The B-Roll. I am Vincel here with Justin and Andrew, as always. And we are here to talk about a movie about killing vamps.
Yep. Oh, is this where I read the thing now? I'm reading it now.
Okay, go for it.
Martin was a normal teenage boy before the country collapsed in an empty pit of economic and political disaster. A vampire epidemic has swept across what is left of the nation's abandoned towns and cities. That's a lot of ants. And it's up to Mr. death-dealing rogue vampire hunter to get Martin safely north to Canada, the continent's new Eden.
Is he a rogue vampire hunter?
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
I think I just assumed he was just like a vampire hunter, and that's just how they acted.
Run-of-the-mill vampire hunter does not really sell movies, though.
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
I mean, unless they're going the D&D angle, like he could have been a rogue.
Getting sneak attack.
Like, popping up. Yeah, popped up behind him and sneak attack. So
all those D6s. But yeah,
right.
So that's the plot to the movie we're watching this week in Steakland. And I think now we'll just go around, get everyone's opinions. Justin, you want to start us off? Yes?
Certainly. This one was really interesting because I had never considered someone doing a stagecoach western with vampires. Yeah. Because that's basically what it is. In the same way that Firefly was stagecoach narrative in space, this one was stagecoach narrative in post-apocalyptic vampire land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
Yo.
Right.
Yep.
Definitely kind of a tie-in. Kind of a mix between John Ford Stagecoach and The Searchers, almost, there toward the end.
I've never seen Stagecoach, so I guess, is it a lot like that movie, I guess?
It is one of the very first movies that John Ford and John Wayne did together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually John Wayne's his first big role.
I think it was. But in it, so a lot of the classic like dime store novels was like there's these people and they're in a stagecoach and they have to run away from the Indians. That's the whole narrative. And then you'd have archetypes inside of that, like the Madonna character, the whore character. There'd be a preacher character, the gunfighter character, and just sometimes the archetypes would mix in and out, but there is a pretty standard mix of them. Like you can see them all in Firefly, and then you can watch them all in Stagecoach as well. And they're always running away from something, getting somewhere, and they're beset on all sides by savages, which then become vampires in this movie.
Right. Well, also religious fanatics, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was an also interesting one for the religious tie-in because kind of historically when Westerns became popular, Western novels were a reaction to the great, what's it called?
The Great, what's it's called?
The Great Awakening. That's what it was. The Great Awakening.
Okay.
And Prohibition. That's why cowboys drink whiskey and they fight, and they're manly Western men, and they're not Eastern men who believe in Prohibition and
think alcohol is bad.
Yeah, So that's an interesting the tie-in for the religious fanatics is one that you didn't see much in Westerns. Aside from you kind of see it in Unforgiven, which you have more justice or God has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who deserve, that was it. But that was an interesting kind of tie-in, I thought, in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think typically there's a lot of interplay between the like the religious upright people in westerns, and then oftentimes like in the western you have a very tough, typically anti-hero, like John Wayne as Rooster Cogburn, or his character in The Shootist.
Or in this movie's case, I guess Mister would be.
Yeah, basically Mister.
But
I
also
feel
in
like
the,
what's up?
but also in the end of the movie, you'll always see a time with that character, the anti-hero, where even though they get to paradise, he can't enter with them. Like
Right.
the right off into the sunset bit. Like, I've helped make this civilization, but I can't be a part of it because I'm still part of the vicious, violent land we came from.
Classic Western ending, right off into the sunset.
I think that's actually in The Searchers, right, where it shows John Wayne standing outside the fence, like of the house, like looking in, and the shot is from inside the house. Like he can never go in with them.
Yeah, he can never go back to this wholesome family setting after the things he's done.
Right. So, yeah, I'm absolutely with you that there's a lot of strong Western. I mean, it is a Western, honestly. It just happens to take place after the vampire apocalypse, which has more. I feel like it has more similarities to it, to not Omega Man, but the book that it's based on. Oh, I Am Legend. Than your typical zombie, plague, apocalypse kind of thing. Because in I Am Legend, the book anyway, they're these just very aggressive,
kind of
basically
mutants.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in Omega Man, they're mutants. In I Am Legend, he kind of experiments with the idea that they're vampires, and then George Romero takes what Richard Matheson does in I Am Legend, and then makes Night of the Living Dead, and invents zombies as we know them today. So a lot comes from I Am Legend, the Richard Matheson Bella, basically. But I feel like this was really close to that. It's more of a plague. They're not particularly smart.
They're
kind
just
of this force of nature.
Yeah, just this angry, mutated force taking out humanity. Which is very clearly established in the first, I don't know, minute and a half of the movie, where the kid gets his entire family, including like a baby sister, eaten by vampires. That's how the movie starts. It's pretty hardcore.
So I liked this movie a lot the first time I saw it, right around when it came out. And I liked it again when I watched it not too long ago. But I also feel like there's a lot of good qualities to the film, but it's kind of like, it's a great example of how you make an independent film.
How so?
The sets are really spare. There's not like a set piece where like things happen around, like anything could just happen in the woods. Like really, because if you think about like where did this take place, somewhere in America.
They really don't even have to rent a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was like that's probably the biggest moment. When that helicopter comes in, and that, I don't know, that could be like CGI, but that's probably the biggest,
most expensive part of the movie.
Yeah, it's like the biggest thing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me when they did 28 Days Later, and they do that opening scene where he's just walking around London, and it looks like this big thing where they had to shut down street after street. But no, that's just what London looks like at 4 a.m. And so they just kind of took advantage of what they had.
That was actually shot in Vancouver.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that whole movie was shot in Canada.
Fucking Canada.
But they did do that. Like if you watch the behind the scenes for 28 Days Later, they'll be shooting one direction and it looks completely desolate. And then like the behind the scenes camera pans over, and behind them, like the highway is going, the cars are going. So a very same thing, very creative use of space.
Mm-hmm. And I was, I don't know, part of me kind of thought this was, I guess I didn't really have the Western connection. I kind of got more of a kung fu vibe from it, especially with the training sessions where they would be in a field of flowers training how to stab a vampire. But
Right. Those montages.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it has those elements too.
Well, and a lot of the
I'm
later
sure there's
westerns are
plenty
Just
like the samurai movies and the Western movies are so intricately linked.
mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Film culture moved west to east.
And then bounced back west.
Yeah. I mean, not really so much anymore, but I mean, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So the structure, I think,
It's kind of the same idea.
It's just all mixed in together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I was kind of aggressively neutral about this movie when I first saw it. But like the more I kind of think about it and the more I kind of talk about it with people, I actually think this is one of those movies I kind of enjoy it in hindsight. After you can kind of think about kind of what went into making it and kind of what it does under the surface. When you start to really break it down, it becomes a much more enjoyable film. It's a good film to talk about, I guess, is what I would say about it.
It's kind of a film buff movie.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed watching it during it, but I also have like a really strong history in the American Westerns, and like where I sidelined my undergraduate degree was in the history of the American West. Hooray!
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
I guess my film background's a lot closer to like noir and thrillers and a whole bunch of stuff my mom got me into, like Hitchcock and all that. So I don't know that the connection wasn't really there until I kind of talked about it with people who had a little more reference to it.
Now, how did you guys feel about the cult? Like, they were an interesting thing, but then it did kind of feel like we got a little sidetracked with them.
A little bit. I mean, spoilers, I guess. Especially when, like, the leader of the cult comes back as, like, a super vampire. And then they kill him. And then the movie kind of ends. Just, yeah.
Yeah, that was a real, like...
What's up, Justin?
I was going to say, like, tie in back to The Searchers, where it's all about this quest for revenge, and, you know, it can kind of work if you're in The Searchers when the person you're going after is actually a person, like a... I can't remember who they were, what tribe it was supposed to be in The Searchers, and as racist as those movies were. But you can actually have a person who's the enemy, and then when you're trying to mix and match both a crazy religious person and they're not people, so it's okay to kill them vampires, it didn't quite work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I just feel like the way that they did it, like we move on. Like we just kind of move on from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine, other things happen. Like they find that little girl in the attic, and like implications of that.
Mm-hmm.
What that means, basically.
Yeah.
And like the story just kind of continues on, and I'm fine with that. I was less fine with going back to the cult and just having them
basically pop up constantly. But yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like, I get what you're saying, where it's just like this is just life moving forward on this journey to Eden. But yeah, it definitely feels like the way this brotherhood keeps popping up, they kind of like, they want to make them the central antagonist, and they just never quite do.
Right. Like hillbillies with guns are a fantastic antagonist, especially when it's like just a couple of you versus like a couple of them. but like supposedly they took out Washington D.C. Um, just by like dumping vampires in places, and
Damn.
um, and I mean I liked it when they like showed up and like just dropped vampires off in the middle of the settlement. They're like,
Oh,
here you go,
damn.
guys.
That was hardcore.
I was impressed with how inventive of a dick move that was.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, especially with a helicopter, like they fly over and then just like dump them out.
in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and even if it is like, kind of out of left field, I did enjoy that a lot. It was just like, wow, that's impressive. I'm not even that mad.
Yeah, it seems like they wanted to have like a primary antagonist. However, we kill him and then we move on from the story, and there's really no reason to bring him back.
Yeah, and the fact that he does kind of, it's like they were looking for a climax and they didn't quite know how to get there.
Right.
It almost would have been better.
It just needed to be either more personal, like he needed to have been like stalking them the entire time.
Yeah.
Because like they have these turns of fortune, like don't they lose somebody in a junkyard?
They lose the religious lady. They get tracked down by like the
nun
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really love that like there are consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And there are these turn of fortunes that happen kind of like as this nomadic lifestyle in this hostile environment, and then that's just what you have to deal with. And I'm also fine with like the religious leader like coming back, and like I just feel like he should have been harassing them the entire movie. Like he should have been a constant threat.
Yeah, because
being taken away and then reemerging later.
Right, yeah, because the way he shows up is it's like 10 minutes before he shows up into being like the super vampire. He just like takes the black guy and like strings him up, and then it's like all of a sudden there's a new threat, but it's an old threat,
right.
But it's a new threat.
I kind of would have been fine if it was just some kind of alpha vampire.
That
like,
yeah,
it really didn't need to be what's his name again. I would have bought that even a little easier. Like, oh,
right.
And what's kind of sad is he had a really good death. Like they tied the bad guy to a tree after his religious cult, and he got eaten by vampires. Like I was really happy with how his storyline ended, and then
that
I'm
was
kind of like,
fucking
oh,
sweet. I love that. Yeah,
Right.
but is what it is.
it's like they had two movies. Like the movie was going to end there, and then they realized they weren't going to be able to make a sequel, so they tacked on the second time. Like turns out the guy from the first movie is back.
Yeah,
It's only been like 20 minutes.
Right. And I do feel like this is a good environment. Like you could have like a couple of movies take place in this universe, in this world, almost like the Man with No Name films.
Mm-hmm.
Which it basically is.
Kind of. It's not focused on the main protagonist enough. Like maybe if there was another film and there was if it was the kid grown up, kind of him on his own doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the guy's name is Mister.
Yeah.
I mean that has to be a nod to the Man with No Name.
It certainly sounds like it. But yeah, had y'all? I don't know. Like this movie kind of reminds me a lot of The Walking Dead. Obviously, I think in a lot of ways. In that, one of the ways it really, really reminded me was this roller coaster of emotions. Where bad things happen, and then it starts to curve up into good, and then out of nowhere everything's fucked, and then we go back down the roller coaster, and then we go climb slowly back up, and then everything has to get fucked again somehow.
I mean, it's these long stories. Like it's not like a specific incident that's happening. Like it's a story told over months and months and months. You're gonna have to have that roller coaster.
Yeah, and
especially like pushing along and like having to scavenge and
Yeah, like sometimes the scavenging works out, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes.
Yeah, and in that regard, like video games, I feel like have done a great job of emulating that.
Definitely.
Things like This War of Mine, very much that.
This
You
war
know,
of
when you
mine.
mentioned Walking Dead, I had to consult the internet. Walking Dead and this movie premiered within a month of each other.
Damn.
Like, Steakland was October 1st in the U.S. Walking Dead was October 31st.
Huh, that's pretty crazy.
Well, and the Walking Dead had been out, at least in video
as a
game
comic,
form,
yeah.
for a long time. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Video game form or comic?
comic. I'm sorry.
This setting would almost lend itself to a, so I mean, like an RPG, like kind of Fallout system. Like, here's your party, make decisions.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a lot of, well, obviously because it's a wasteland, survival story. Get a lot of Fallout vibes from it. A lot of Walking Dead. A lot of, a couple of Supernatural. I thought just with the way all these traps and all this like hunter knowledge getting passed around and jargon talked. It obviously reminds me a lot of the things.
Right.
I did think it was interesting, like some of the side conversations they would have in there. Like I think one of the bartenders talked to him and was like, "I didn't think there were any of you left." It's like, was there a heyday of vampire hunters, and then
Right.
like are they the losing side?
I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of the Jedi thing, right? Like he shows up.
The wandering warrior kind of, yeah.
mm-hmm. Or like like the Jedi or the Witchers or just any number of the
Right.
Ranger, any number of rangery type hunter archetype.
Lone samurai,
Yeah.
the bounty hunter.
Yeah, which I think probably harkens back to the Western and samurai film ties that this movie seems to show a lot of.
Almost some kind of a little bit of lone wolf and cub in here with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that part's definitely very strong with the whole Mr. whatever the fuck that kid's name was relationship. Martin. Yeah.
Yeah.
After watching all these people die, Martin would later grow up to write a series of books called Fire and Ice.
It's funny. Anyway.
So, but I think we touched on it briefly, but I think this is a really great example of just how to make a film correctly, like a film on a budget correctly.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're talking about, just the use of space.
It's just so stripped down. Like the biggest things you see in the film that move are like a train engine and a helicopter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything.
I was just saying that the biggest thing that you see move is like a train and a helicopter. It always feels like this film was shot on the edges of town in the most rundown of places.
Yeah.
A lot of Road Warrior feel to it. Like some of these extras were paid in beer.
Yeah, a lot of like burly biker guys.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
a lot of people who would ain't got nothing else going on today.
Yeah, also an interesting story element, I guess. Basically, the choice of having a female character that was pregnant.
Yeah, that was interesting. And it was kind of a pseudo love interest.
Like the Madonna character?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And with her dies hope. Ish.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was that drastic in this film, but...
Well, I mean, after she dies, like, the guy finds another girl 2.5 minutes later.
easily replaceable. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually did like the way the film ended. It was positive
Mm-hmm.
in a not cheap way.
Mm-hmm. And also, it still kind of sticks to the, life goes on. Yeah, it sucks. Everyone you know is dead, but you just keep moving on and you find new people and, not necessarily replace the people that died, but like you just keep going on. It sticks to the theme of moving on and moving towards a goal.
Because if you stop, you die.
Yep.
Right. I think with these types of films, that you see a lot of that, especially like The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. Just really survival stories in general kind of seem to have this feel to it.
Right.
It's either hopeful or just complete, utter despair.
What comes to mind when you think of a film that's just hopeless?
The Walking Dead video games, actually, sometimes, just because you
No,
do,
I absolutely agree.
you do have that element of like, people sticking together and being hopeful, but it's always under the assumption that humanity is going to stab itself in the back. Like nothing hopeful or good can last. And that happens a lot, like a frustratingly large a number of times in The Walking Dead, to the point that it doesn't even really make that much sense that the characters do these things sometimes. But yeah, that was an example that came to mind, where the video games, Telltale video games.
Those are fantastic examples of like just gameplay storytelling.
Yeah, they're fantastic games, really. Well, good games, great games. Yeah, good.
I would play a game based on this movie.
I would too, honestly. I don't know, like
Yeah.
do like probably a tabletop RPG. I do that, like roll up a character and then like make combat focused on these specific weak points. That'd be cool.
There's an RPG called The End, which is based on the biblical apocalypse. So basically, the biblical apocalypse happens, and just like it says in the Bible, the meek inherit the earth. So, not like the kinds of like most of the soldiers are gone. Like anybody that was assertive, like gone, and so the meek inherit the earth, and then man loses dominion over animals. So animals get really big, like nature starts to reclaim the world.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's interesting. I don't think it's in print anymore.
Yeah,
I have a copy, but
yeah,
it's
probably
certainly
on.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll throw it on top of the other 400 million tabletop RPGs I have to go through.
Yeah.
Oh god.
We'll get right to that.
I'll put it right under the copy of Rogue Trader I still have. I will get that back to you someday, Andrew. I promise. Anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna play this new RPG system. I have days I don't have time to eat.
Right. But
So what else? What else about this film?
man, it reminded me of a really serious Zombieland. Or maybe I should say Zombieland reminded me of a really funny version of Steakland. Just because those two have like the same structure, but it's obviously trying to accomplish two different things with the audience. One's trying to make the audience laugh and have a good time. The other one is trying to tell a good survival story. But I kept thinking about that movie while I was watching Steakland just because the similarities struck me.
Right.
I kind of went into this kind of thinking the same thing, that someone just tried to make Zombieland was vampires, and
Grimdark.
this looks terrible.
Yeah.
And they put glasses on the guy because he needed sunglasses, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what my expectations would be for this, but I'd say I was more pleasantly surprised than not. Yeah, I like that the car was a lot of fun. Like the scenes where they'd like crawl in and out, and really just any scene where they're hunting a vampire was really cool because it was never like a straight up fight. It was always these very like a hunter would, like trapping the monster or like distracting it to get in those. A lot like I guess a rogue, how a rogue would do things.
Right. Or just fighting an enemy that's so much stronger than you.
Mm-hmm. And those are always interesting when you can choreograph a scene like that really well. And I think they were in this movie, especially the one where they're like, it's after they dump off Mister to get eaten by vampires, and then the kid runs away and finds the car, and they have to like distract him while he's banging out on the car, and the guy has to crawl out, and they have to like run over the vampire like 6 or 7 times. Oh man. Those are really intense.
Yes. I think all the scenes that took place at night were at a certain tenseness to them.
Mm-hmm.
They use that element really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I think this is such a success as an independent film, because it uses that sparseness and those really strong characters to great effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like,
and I think that's what makes this film so good.
It's using what it has instead of trying to compensate for what it doesn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also, thanks to IMDb, I have news.
Okay.
The actor who played Mister just wrapped up filming The Steaklander. Is currently in post-production, 2016.
The Steaklander?
Okay.
Well, it should premiere October 31st, 2016. When his home of New Eden is destroyed by the revitalized Brotherhood and its new vamp leader, Martin finds himself alone in the Badlands of America with only the distant memory of his mentor and legendary vampire hunter, Mister, to guide him.
No joke. All right.
Holy shit.
News,
Good
everyone.
timing.
Wow. Shit just got real.
We're relevant.
We did something relevant. Yeah. Anyway.
There are characters that are named Doc Earl and Bat. And Lady. Mister might have a lady now?
No. Or Mr. is a lady in a confusing plot twist.
A transsexual.
Mister is a lady. Mister is a lady.
God, that'd be.
He actually says the dude looked like a lady.
Yeah. Dude,
Well,
look like a lady.
I didn't know if it was do it like a lady or dude looked like a lady.
No, it's dude. Dude looks like a lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're educational, too.
Yeah. The more you know.
So I feel like if we're gonna compare this film to anything that's like high art, you could go with Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker film, which is based on a book called Roadside Picnic. Very different material. It's more about like the space and just being in like a foreign alien space, but there's a lot of like just wandering in empty places.
Mm-hmm.
In typical Tarkovsky fashion, it's super low, but very gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like one of the things that, again, makes this such a great example of independent filmmaking is oftentimes it's like they're sensitive about not having money enough to do something, so when they can like substitute for it and use money to do stuff, it gets like overplayed. So like a film look, sometimes that gets a little overplayed, or like they got money for like prosthetics and made the vampires look super, I don't know, something.
They were super proud of those vampires. They didn't want to hide anything when it came to the vamps.
And I don't know, they were kind of, they were decent vampires. They weren't like I Am Legend, the Will Smith version. You know, it was a bit much. Felt like, because they were just all CGI.
Yeah, just very weird looking. But
they did do a good job of giving the vampire's character, I thought. Like, each one looked like it was a person who was doing something when they got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially like, honestly, the creepiest moment for me was when he discovers the kid in the attic.
Yeah.
The scamp is what they called them, but super creep. Me, especially like when she just twists her head. Ugh.
And being that kind of movie that was willing to be like, no, we're gonna stake a kid.
Yep, it's gonna happen.
Crap.
Well, the other thing was like the kid is there, and like for a split second, you're thinking, is that a vampire or is that not a vampire? It would probably
you want to believe.
Yeah, you want to believe it's not, but it is. Which
did a good job of drawing you into the plot of not wanting, like, I don't want to believe that these things are human beings, but
yeah. Nah, that was
right.
That was a really nice, really well done scene, and the scene after that where the vampire is just like slowly tranching towards
and
him.
But this movie could be like a series of short stories. Like you could have told it that way. You could have made it like an anthology film and done it in like 3 parts, like the film The Signal. 3 different directors broken up into 3 different parts. I mean, it's not as an effective film, and I don't know that it's as an effective technique for telling a cohesive story, but I mean, you could have told this story like that. It's very episodic.
It may have been better served for that with things like, and then he meets a new girl like 20 minutes later. Like, we could have explored that a lot better.
Instead of, that guy's a vampire, but he was a dick in high school. I'll take care of him. Yeah. Panties off.
Is that how that played out?
Yeah.
It's in the director's cut.
As I remember it, yeah, that's what happened. But, yeah.
I am now remembering some of the parts that were a little over the top.
Yeah.
Okay. Like what?
Like that one in particular was a good... and I had kind of thought the way that would go is that Mister was going to, like, beat his ass for that. Like, you're being a dumbass showing off for a girl and you're going to get yourself killed. Like, that was kind of antithetical to a lot of what I thought Mister was, and I was surprised that wasn't the reaction.
Yeah, he was just surprisingly cool with it.
It was the end of Mister's arc.
Hmm.
So, he was done. He's like, I'm out.
Later, bitches.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You're on your own, you little turd.
Show off.
I'll see you in the sequel.
Quite literally, apparently.
Yeah. He's the vampire.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a twist.
Entirely possible, I guess, with this next one.
Yeah. Or he's the lady. Calling it right now. $20. Says it's the lady.
Mister is the lady.
Mister is the lady.
That would be fine.
But yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No. I think we've covered about everything we have to say. I have. I don't know if any of you guys have any closing thoughts about this movie.
No, I just think it's a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
example of independent filmmaking and great example of what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was like I said, I was okay with it while watching it, but I think it's definitely a film that's a lot of fun to talk about and a lot of fun to like really discuss and chew on. And yeah, I think it's a very well done film.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think if you like Western movies or have never seen many Westerns, or if you've just seen Firefly, you will like this movie, and you'll see different takes on things that you already know you like.
Hmm.
Yeah, I totally.
All right. Well, I think that is it for Steakland. If you guys want to join us next time, I believe we will be talking about Pontypool.
Pontypool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am excited
Another
about
independent
this.
film. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like it. There's some concepts you only see in few other stories, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I like this one a lot more than Steakland, if I'm honest. I watched both of them back to back, but
Yeah, Pontypool is.
I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, anyway, see you guys next time.
Later.